TMZ Live, Charles here.
I'm Alex Michelson from Fox 11 Los Angeles, filling in for Harvey.
Thanks for being here. We told you the big news yesterday, the shocking news in the Justin Baldoni-Blake Lively war, that a judge had dismissed most of, and the biggest part, the defamation allegation, the defamation case that Justin had filed against Blake. And last night, she was taking what I'm sure she felt was like a victory lap. She was out at an event in Tribeca last night in New York City. All smiles.
Big smiles.
Why not? Because she came out on top, right?
Maybe not.
Maybe not. And in fact, Justin Baldoni is saying that this is far from over. Now, we're going to have his attorney with us in just a moment, but here's what Blake had to say after the judge's decision. She said, "I felt the pain of a retaliatory lawsuit, including the manufactured shame that tries to break us. While the suit against me was defeated, so many don't have the resources to fight back."
Trying to make it a bigger picture thing so that more people can relate to her.
Clearly feeling victorious. Justin Baldoni's attorney, Brian Friedman, says this is a long way from over and that they are planning to continue this fight. And he is joining us right now to explain how they're going to move forward. Brian, welcome back to TMZ Live.
Thanks. Nice to be here.
So what was your reaction to the judge's decision yesterday to dismiss the biggest one being the defamation claim?
Well, we weren't pleased that the judge dismissed the defamation claim, but it didn't, overall, it's not what the case is about. I mean, let's remember where we got started here. We got started because Blake Lively filed a CRD complaint and then, walked over and filed a lawsuit which, accused some very good people of a smear campaign and accused, a terrific young man of sexual harassment, both of which were completely untrue. And that's where the case got started. It's where the case stands today. Those claims that she brought exist. That's where we want our win. From day one, where we've wanted our win, in addition to getting damages, but where we wanted our win is to show there was no smear campaign and there's no sexual harassment. And she hasn't proved a thing. As a matter of fact, it's just the opposite. Look at the facts. Look at what's been shown. Look at the receipts. Look at the video.
What's next for you?
I mean, next for us is I'm really hoping that she doesn't drop her lawsuit because, going on her false victory. Because she's on a false victory tour and she's afraid of the truth. And the truth is, going to be shown through depositions, which is what's going to be next. I've noticed her deposition. It's set in June. We're going to see if she's going to appear at that deposition or not. And we're going to proceed forward with the case. And we're going to show that there was no sexual harassment. And we're going to show that there was no smear campaign. And it's really just that simple. And, it's unfortunate to be wrongfully accused here. And some really good people at some really good PR firms, people that aren't even in the face of anything, have been accused of horrible things. And Justin has been accused of horrible things. And Jamie has been accused of sex harassment. And it's just not true. And we're going to prove that.
So, Brian, what you're talking about is what your plan is to go forward and win against Blake has filed her lawsuit. And you're just talking about fighting that lawsuit, fighting the allegations that she has made. But are you talking about refiling any of the claims that Justin made? Obviously, the defamation was dismissed with prejudice, so you can't refile that. But do you plan to refile any of the other? I think there are 3 other claims that you could refile, correct?
There's actually 4, and the judge was very specific about them. Intentional interference with contract against Blake and Ryan, intentional interference with prospective economic advantage, that exists still. And that's against Blake and Ryan. Negligent interference with a prospective economic advantage, that's against Blake and Ryan, and breach of the implied duty of covenant of good faith and fair dealing. And those are, that's against Blake. And those claims still exist. The judge just wants us to replead them and gave us a roadmap on how to do that.
Well, will you do that?
Of course we'll do that. I mean, for sure. And, as part of doing that also, we're also going to fight her claims, which have existed since the beginning here. And there's been absolutely no indication of any kind that she's prevailing on her claims. As a matter of fact, just the opposite. if you look at the facts and the evidence that we've seen in the public.
So you mentioned in June her deposition. What's your strategy for that? What's the key question you want to get her under oath on?
State your name. I want to see if she shows up.
And once she does, what do you do after that?
I'm going to ask her questions under penalty of perjury, and she's going to have to provide evidence, and she's going to have to provide the truth of the stories. And we have all the videotape, we have all the footage, we have, the text messages, and we have emails, and we're going to see how consistent her testimony is with the actual facts of what transpired. If it's shown to date so far, what she's said and what she's put in court pleadings, it doesn't seem like her testimony is going to be all that consistent.
So it sounds like what you are explicitly saying, you don't want everything to go away. You don't want to just say we're done with this. You want to have Justin's name cleared in court, and it's important for you for all this stuff to go forward.
It's not just important for me to have Justin's name cleared in court. It's important for me to have Tag and Jen Abel's names cleared in court. It's important for me to show the truth and to give the clients the real, result that they're looking for, which essentially is what they were accused of, right? There was not sexual harassment here. She wasn't sexually harassed, and there's no smear campaign.
What the judge essentially said, though, Brian, was that she made those allegations in legal documents, and therefore there was no defamation in this New York Times article. I'm wondering what Justin's reaction was to the judge's decision, because really the judge said, you accused her of cherry picking, of the New York Times of cherry picking certain things from her lawsuit and placing them in this story. And the judge said there's nothing wrong with that. That's good journalism. So I'm wondering what Justin's reaction was to the judge's decision.
Well, I don't know that the judge said there's nothing wrong with that. It's good journalism. I think what the judge said is this all came from the CRD complaint, and the CRD complaint is a privileged document. And therefore, you can't allege defamation based on a privileged document. And I think that's where the judge, came from. What was Justin's reaction to it? The same as my reaction to it, which is, it's not fair, it's not right. And the reality is that someone should have a chance to be able to be held accountable. And you should be able to hold media accountable for the truth and veracity or the lack of it of what they show. And, whether or not something, was cherry picked from text messages or not isn't really the issue as much as whether something was truthful or not. And the truth is what the New York Times said, how they obtained the information. And frankly, the case that Blake Lively has been putting on since the beginning, that there's sexual harassment and there's a smear campaign, is just completely wrong.
What's Justin's headspace right now?
I think that he's a person who wants to be vindicated. And that's all that he cares about, is that he knows who he is. He knows what he's done. He knows what he hasn't done. And he wants the truth to come out. And he wants to do that in the appropriate way. He's not walking around taking victory laps and victory tours and speaking out. He's taking care of his family and taking care of his loved ones. And he's waiting for his day in court where he can speak out and tell the truth.
All right. Well, a lot of people thought that maybe this whole thing was coming to a close. Clearly, it is not. Brian, I'm sure we'll be talking to you as this moves forward. Thank you for being with us.
I mean, it is so far from over. Let's just put it that way. So far.
I heard what you said loud and clear. We will talk to you soon.
Thank you.
All right.
Meanwhile, another case is also so far from being over,
Yes,
even though there was a thought that maybe it would be ending.
Right. Diddy thought that his attorneys asked for a mistrial. The judge gave them their answer this morning. The short answer, no.
No.
There is no mistrial. They are moving forward. In fact, there's testimony going on right now. But the judge cleared up all of this rigmarole about the testimony, about whether or not Cassie actually saw Diddy allegedly dangle Brianna Bonglin over a balcony. And the judge said, yeah, maybe Brianna got the date wrong, but I'm cool with that.
The judge slapped down this whole mistrial motion, said, look, there's discrepancies in the testimony. There's no doubt about it. And you're allowed to expose those in front of the jury so that they can assess the credibility of these witnesses. But this isn't grounds for a mistrial. Trials move very quickly, and there are going to be mistakes along the way that don't impact the outcome. So I'm not going to call a mistrial here. Also said that she testified that she was on drugs during this period. So you're talking about 2016 and specific dates. Those could be all a haze to her. She's now sober. That's a wonderful thing. but I'm not going to call a mistrial over a discrepancy over some dates.
Yeah, and the judge said, defense, take what you can get. You kind of had your Perry Mason moment here when you caught her in this, maybe a lie or something, or false testimony or whatever, and said, take your win, but it's not a mistrial.
Yeah, and that's it. And so they are moving forward. Jane is on the stand right now, right, guys?
She's on the stand.
Cross-examination.
She's being cross-examined right now. They're getting all sorts of testimony about sort of Diddy's nicknames for her. I think he called her crack pipe at some point in a voicemail because he was so addicted to sex with her. So they're trying to elicit testimony that shows this was a very warm and consensual relationship most of the time.
Yeah, she even said she compared them to some famous NBA players. She said, we are a trifecta. I was Kobe, Diddy was Michael Jordan, and a male entertainer was Shaq. So she's had a lot to say today.
Yeah.
All right.
Quite a threesome.
Yeah. By the way, we're talking about the credibility of the jurors. Go back to our attorney in his Kith t-shirt. I mean, come on, Derek.
Come on, dude. This
Try
is where
harder.
you get the good stuff.
Try harder. Attorney at law.
Rock on, baby.
Nice and Kith.
Rock on.
Everyone knows. Rock on.
All right. We are going to take a break, and when we come back, the Marines standing ready to invade LA.
Well, that's a loaded word.
Yes, of course it is. But the fact that the Marines have been deployed, they are not actually on the ground here in LA yet. They have not been deployed in front of any buildings, but they are ready to. Is this the right answer? Are they needed? We know what the Marines are trained for. Is it necessary in LA? We're going to get to the truth of what's really happening in downtown LA when we come back, and we're going to be joined by Congressman Wesley Hunt.
Until we went in, if we didn't do the job, that place would be burning down just like the houses burned down. They were in big trouble last night, Peter. You know it. And the night before, and the night before that. And I feel we had no choice. I don't want a civil war. A civil war would happen if you left it to people like him. And I liked him. I always got along with him. Never had a problem with him. But he's grossly incompetent.
So that Civil War comment is in response to an interview I did with Governor Newsom a couple days ago, which we aired yesterday here on TMZ Live, where he said that he believes that President Trump wants there to be a civil war. That got to the president at the White House. He's obviously saying no, he doesn't. But President Trump doesn't trust Governor Newsom to lead the response. He asked for another 2,000 National Guard troops to come to California. That's a total of 4,000 that he's requested. Plus, he's requested Marines to come in as well. The breaking news as we record this is that the governor has asked for an emergency motion to try to stop that, to get the Guard out, to make sure that the Marines never come in. We'll see if the court sides with him or not.
Yeah.
But there's a real conflict going on.
As we speak right now, those 700 Marines have left their base, and they are reportedly in LA County, but they have not been, as we're speaking now, deployed at any federal buildings. But that's an extreme thing that has really raised a lot of eyebrows, to have, U.S. military trained, especially the Marines, deployed in this situation, and whether or not it was warranted. Joining us right now to talk about this, Congressman Wesley Hunt, who we've had on the show before and who has a military background, served more than 10 years, I believe, in the Army, and he is joining us right now. Congressman, welcome back to TMZ Live.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, Congressman, what's your reaction to the deployment of the request is for 4,000 National Guard troops and then an additional 700 Marines? Your reaction to them being deployed in an American city?
Well, the number one goal of the federal government and our top responsibility is to keep our citizens safe. We are seeing in LA, what I've seen in LA in the past, is that the city is literally burning to the ground. You're looking at people that are throwing rocks and pieces of cement at law enforcement officers. You are seeing law enforcement officers being attacked. You're seeing cars burning in the middle of a street. I mean, this is unacceptable under any circumstance. And I got to tell you something. This is an issue of leadership. This isn't Democrat versus Republican. This is leadership. Let me tell you something. This would never happen in Texas. This is an issue of safety and ensuring that we enforce the laws in our country. I protect and I'm willing to give my life to protect our First Amendment right. I want the people to be able to peacefully protest. I want the people to be able to voice their opinions, but not like this.
So, Congressman, and obviously safety of citizens should be the first priority, and I believe that it is. If for the military, especially the Marines, to be deployed here, you would need, typically, customarily, you want the governor, and even President Trump in the past has said this, that the governor needs to call and say, we need help. That didn't happen because Governor Newsom has said that, and Mayor Bass has said that their local law enforcement have this under control. So why do we need Marines on the streets of Los Angeles?
Well, because this is them playing partisan politics, and they really just hate President Trump.
No, but hold on, Congressman. I got to challenge you on one thing.
No, this is about politics. President Trump
I don't disagree with you.
To do the job of the governor. That's what this is about.
I don't disagree with you that there's certainly politics at play here from the president and probably from the governor as well. But to say that all of LA is burning, the city is not burning. We live here, and I understand you've been watching on TV. We live here, and you can interview anybody you want in our office. No one's homes are burning. The city is not on fire. There was violence that should be stopped, that shouldn't happen. And the people who do that, I agree with you, need to be stopped. But this notion that all of LA is burning, I hope that people would stop saying that, because it's just not
There's
true.
a few areas in downtown LA where there have been problems.
I am not there on the ground. So I'm not in the suburbs of LA. I'm not saying, I don't know if the entire city is burning down to the ground. What I'm saying is the acts of violence that we're seeing right now can ultimately result in a loss of life if we don't nip this in the bud like yesterday. And it shouldn't happen. And if one car happens, if one police officer is threatened, we have a huge problem.
So the governor and the mayor both told me that by bringing in the Guard and bringing in the Marines, that it's actually making the situation worse, that it's antagonizing the protesters. And we've seen, actually, that a lot of the local police have had to protect the National Guard and guard them and take away resources there. What do you think the Guard is actually doing to stop what you're talking about? Because these incidents, everything you just said, have happened since the Guard has gotten there. It's not like they've stopped it.
So this is actually about a show of force, and you need a bigger boat. That's obvious. They need some help. They need more eyes on. And the bottom line is this: these people need to stop destroying public property, stop destroying federal buildings, and stop harming police officers and ICE officers. That has to come to an end. And so the idea of adding more troops hurts the situation. I got to kind of push back on that. I mean, I'm somebody that deployed to Iraq. I'm somebody that spent time in combat. When you have more soldiers on the ground, things tend to get better because there are more good guys than bad guys that want to do harm.
But that's what local law enforcement is for, Congressman. And you're talking about, and by the way, I hear what you're saying about being deployed in combat. And I guess that's my thing about the Marines. I'm wondering what's going through the minds of the Marines who've been deployed. These men and women are skillfully trained, and God bless them for the work that they do, to be able to go into life and death situations in combat in foreign lands. So why are they being deployed? Why are they being deployed for? They're being deployed for crowd control in Los Angeles.
The mindset of a Marine is the same thing. Is the same thing as the mindset of any soldier that raises their hand to defend this country against all enemies, both foreign and domestic. You work for the federal government. You do their job. You don't get to say what you do and don't want to do. You do the biddings of what the commander-in-chief sends you to do, who is the head of the military. End of discussion. So you don't get to ask questions about feelings. You are put on a mission. You accomplish said mission.
But just as a concept,
right?
Are you concerned about if there was a Democratic president who said, I'm going to take over the Texas National Guard to protect abortion clinics because we disagree with your policy. We think people should be able to go in there and get abortions. And so we're going to send in Marines to be stationed outside that abortion clinic to allow people to go in and out. Would you have a problem with that?
That's a pretty extreme example, but
this is an extreme example.
Commander-in-Chief sent us to do, well, then the answer is yes. The point I'm making, though, is the mission is not to protect an abortion clinic. The mission is to stop people from throwing rocks at police cars and hurting ICE officers and hurting law enforcement officers. The point is to stop
protect citizens also, right?
First and foremost, of course, yes.
Right. So that's what Alex was talking about, is protecting citizens in the hypothetical you threw out.
Understood. And protecting citizens, yes. And by the way, as somebody, again, that served, if that's my mission to go protect and help out my fellow Leos and protect citizens, of course I'll do it.
Congressman, we really appreciate you being with us. Love the background. Go Army. I'm with you on that.
Thank you for your thank you for your service. Genuinely.
Yes.
Thank you.
And guys, thank y'all so much for having me on. And thank you very much for the dialogue. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Congressman. I just want to do, like, as a PSA to everyone in America, LA is not burning. We were more in January. That was LA burning. That was closer. And even that wasn't all of LA burning, but that was closer to than what is happening right now. It is bad. It needs to get under control, but the city is not on fire. Okay. We are going to take a break, and when we come back, proof that LA is not on fire. We're still doing award shows. The BET Awards went down last night, and Kevin Hart had a PSA he wanted to do about Diddy and parties. You'll see it when we come back.
TMZ's got every freaking thing. Big celebs, big stories, big events.
Justin Timberlake made Portland kids' dream come true by joining a bike bus ride. And they always listen to Justin Timberlake.
Cry me a river when they fall. Yeah, right.
It's TMZ.
Well, the BET Awards went off without a hitch last night. There was some concern heading into it that they would even go forward. It was held at the Peacock Theater in downtown LA,
Just
a mile
blocks,
or so?
blocks away from a lot of the sort of chaos in the streets that was happening, but you didn't really get too much of a sense of that there.
No, inside everything was fine, and outside everything was fine. And Kevin Hart decided that he was going to make jokes about, well, I mean, he's the host, right? So you have to sort of roast a little bit of, you take shots at people in the audience. This shot that we're about to play for you is not about someone who's in the audience because, well, this person is in a prison, actually right now sitting in a courtroom, and that's Diddy. Yes, he didn't say his name, but it was very clear to everyone who he was talking about here. Watch the reactions in the room.
I'm shutting down the idea of after parties. No after parties tonight, okay? None. Take your asses home after this. That's why I did it on a Monday. I did it on a Monday. People got to go to work tomorrow. No after parties. That's where get slippery at them after parties, okay? We're learning a lot about people, ain't we? We're learning a lot.
Honestly, it looked to me like you could hear some laughter. There was laughter.
Yeah.
It was funny, but it's like people were on camera and didn't want to seem like they were laughing.
BET Awards positions themselves as the culture's biggest night, and once upon a time, Diddy was a big part of this culture. His after parties, were a part of the BET experience. So, life comes at you fast, but, Kevin had to address the elephant in the room.
By the way, we should say the Diddy after parties that happen after award shows, that's not what the trial is about. Those weren't freak-offs. The trial is something separate, but still, nobody wanted to be seen as laughing at him. There were some Icon Awards handed out, and Mariah Carey was one of them.
Amazingly, Mariah Carey has never won a BET Award.
She's shocked by that. 25 years.
Best-selling female artist ever, and she's never won a BET Award.
Yeah, kind of strange. I mean, I guess 25 years. But she had hits in the early 2000s, so...
She had hits, but Mariah Carey also isn't really worried about a BET Award. She kind of let that be known when she accepted her Ultimate Icon Award. She said, they tell me this is my first BET Award. So it was almost like she was like poking fun that all this time and I've never gotten an award, but you know what, who cares? She said, you know what, I'm a diva, I'm fabulous, I will continue being that and being the icon that I am. She also performed last night with Anderson .Paak, who she's been, in talks with possibly dating, possibly working with on new music. She's
been in talks with him about possibly dating?
Well, there have been talks that they are possibly dating. So it's cool to see them on stage together.
Another Icon Award was handed out to Jamie Foxx, and he took the moment to thank people in his life who are close to him in getting through the medical crisis after he was in a coma for so long and bouncing back amazingly quickly from that nearly deadly stroke. This is what he had to say to his family in the audience.
Hey, when I saw that memoriam, I was like, man, it could have been me. But I don't know why I went through what I went through, but I know my second chance I'm not gonna turn down. I'm not gonna turn down. I have so much love to give. I told him, I said, man, bro, just give me one more crack at this. And I promise, I said, whatever reason you put this on me, I promise I'm gonna do right.
You very rarely get to see that realness with him. I mean, that is real, authentic moment where he's opening up, being vulnerable, and letting everybody in. And when he was going through that, he was so private. A lot of people didn't even know what was happening. And so we're glad to see him through that and to see him feeling so much better.
Unlike the Diddy joke, when they cut to the audience during Jamie's speech, people were very clearly reacting and wiping away tears. A big night for him.
A little bit better politics on backing Jamie Foxx right now than being Team Diddy.
Exactly.
But then again, if you go against Diddy, he could blow up your car. Go ahead.
Allegedly.
Yeah, I'll just say this. The BET Awards, first of all, I'm just actually shocked that this is Mariah Carey's first BET Award. But, you know, Jamie Foxx, for him to have that tearful acceptance speech, I mean, it really just shows to the reality that he went through a, you know, near-death experience. And he just thanked God on that stage. And you just saw everybody in the audience just cry. And that was just a real moment. And then to Kevin Hart, it was a few people who were shook. They didn't even want to laugh at the joke. I was like, okay, y'all can laugh. It's okay.
Sometimes things play different on TV than they do in the room. You think of all those, like Ricky Gervais when he hosted the Golden Globes, and he'd attack everybody and people didn't know what to do in the room, but everybody at home was laughing. It may have been one of those instances.
I think it was. All right, when we come back, we're going to be joined by D.L. Hughley. We're going to get into a conversation about what's happening here in L.A., all the anger over the ICE raids. Does the Latino community have regrets? The Latino community that supported President Trump, voted for him, should they have regrets? We're going to get into that when we come back. Welcome back to TMZ Live. Some of the reactions to what has been going on in LA, certainly for the last 5 days, but really across the country, the reaction to the ICE raids. One of the most interesting reactions, I think, comes from someone who is a supporter of President Trump. The co-founder, in fact, of Latinos for Trump is a Florida state senator named Ileana Garcia. And this is what she had to say about sort of the turn that the ICE raids have made. She said, "This is not what we voted for. I have always supported Trump through thick and thin. However, this is unacceptable and inhumane." She's referring to what really sparked the protests here in Los Angeles. The fact that the ICE raids have now, seems that they're just going after anyone who is here illegally, regardless of whether they've committed any crimes, paying their taxes.
What Tom Homan says is that they go after people who have criminal deportation orders, but if other people happen to be nearby them or they're harboring them or they're friends with them and they get caught up in this as well and they happen to be illegal, they get deported as well.
And as a result, you have a lot of people who are very upset about this.
But also, not all Latinos. We do know that there are plenty of Latinos who are watching this right now who support what President Trump is doing. We've seen especially that's true in communities of folks who have immigrated here legally, went through the tough process. A lot of them are angry when people try to cut the line, and they actually support this. We've also seen, Latinos that are second, third generation that have different views on illegal immigration than their parents or grandparents did, which is part of the reason that Trump's vote share among Latinos went way up in the last election.
Right. So joining us now to talk about what is, the burning topic here in Los Angeles.
Burning topic is the wrong word.
Wrong phrase. It's our good friend D.L. Hughley. D.L., welcome back, man. How you been?
How are you?
We're good, man.
I'm an Angelino. I'm a lifelong Angelino, and I hate to see this city characterized as it's been done. I think that we're a city full of hardworking people. I think the city of Angels could use a few right now. But ultimately, there is. I think that if you look at what Obama did, he deported large numbers of people, but there wasn't the level of inhumanity. And I think the haphazardness and the wrecking ball effect of it. And I think that's deliberate. I think that Donald Trump wants to foment this kind of angst. It was the last time that a president used the National Guard before without talking to the governor was I think in 1965. When Lyndon Baines Johnson did it for George Wallace. And Johnson did it because Wallace wouldn't follow a federal order. Johnson did it because Wallace was a racist. He sent the National Guard in to desegregate schools and because Wallace was a racist. Trump sent the National Guard to California because he's one. There was no justification. The one thing I know for sure, the LAPD has handled some of the most violent riots in American history. And one thing they don't need is help doing it. They're in a league. They know how to quell a riot. You never see LA. These rubber bullets are flying and hitting everybody. So I think it was disingenuous. I think this was the fight he wanted. I think it's distractive, and I hate to see people characterizing this city and this. Obviously, he has the right to make sure who is in his borders or not. Do you have to do it this inhumanely?
Well, DL, I think he would say that this is the issue that he has the most popularity on. So
sure.
He's only.
So he would.
So he would say he's just doing it.
But here's really what they would say. They argue with this concept of the sanctuary city, sanctuary state policy. So they would say
even be
because California refuses to work with the administration on most immigration issues, and that they're not allowed to go into the jails with an ICE detainer and pull these people out that way. And because of that, they got to go in the community. So the Trump administration says, you work with us behind the scenes instead.
I think that's and you know it. Just days before this happened, he was talking about pulling grants in California from their university because he didn't like the way that they let students protest. So he's had it out for California. He told us years ago that he wasn't going to give us federal funding because we didn't sweep the forest floors. Let's be clear. He has an axe to grind with California, always has, and he's using it as a cudgel. You know it, and I know it. And he can say whatever he wants to say. He's entitled to do whatever he wants to do. Stop telling me you're going after criminals when you're wrecking graduations. And here's the thing. If you're legally empowered to go where you're going, then how is it that principals can deny ICE access? If they really have the warrant, they're legally empowered to be there, then why are they so easily turned away?
My question,
principal shouldn't be able to say you can't go in if you're legally empowered to be there.
Right.
Why are they wearing masks? Why are they refusing to identify themselves? Why is there so much upheaval in this process?
Well, how do we get out of this? Because I think your point is true, that President Trump likes this fight. He thinks it's good politics for him. It changes the topic off of Elon Musk, everything else, right? And so what I said to Governor Newsom the other day is, how do you negotiate with somebody like that if they want the fight? He said you really can't negotiate with him. How do we end this? How do we cool this thing down?
Here's the thing. There is no cooling down because race and the division will always. The clear thing for me is when you hear this senator who says she supported. Last time he was putting kids in cages, so that wasn't enough for you. That wasn't inhumane. He's always been who he is. I think that I hear this thing by Roe where people are going, oh, I thought he was going after the criminals. You have to understand this. To them, their skin color is a crime. Every day is chaos with this dude. Every day, and that's what it's meant to do, disrupt. But when you tell me that you didn't have to wear a mask to arrest El Chapo. You do have to wear a mask to arrest his gardener. Like, how devious are these maids? Like what? It's meant to instill fear. It's meant to do what it's doing right now.
DL, hopefully when we talk next week, things have calmed down in our city here, and we can talk about something else.
For sure. Thank you, man.
All right. DL. Thanks, DL. Fear has definitely been instilled. And really, I guess it's on the populace to realize that there isn't that much to be afraid of.
Depends on your perspective.
Depends on the perspective on where you are. I guess where you are in the city, certainly. That's for sure. We are going to take a break. When we come back, the Glen Powell and Sydney Sweeney romance rumors, yeah, it really did a number on Glen's personal life, and his ex is now speaking out about it and telling him where he went wrong, what he should have done differently. Gigi Paris is putting him on notice when we come back. So we know that Sydney Sweeney's engagement broke up. We know that Glen Powell's relationship with Gigi Paris broke up when they were making the movie Anyone But You. That's when Glen and Gigi broke up shortly after the movie.
Sydney was more recent.
Sydney took a little more time, but this all goes back to what was going on back then. You remember when they were making the movie down in Australia, there were all these things off the set, this videos and photos of them playfully out and about around Australia. And we all thought, all right, this is just a PR stunt.
Well, not everybody. A lot of people thought maybe they're together.
Yeah. In fact, one of those people...
Yeah, like, look at that video. I mean, do you do that with your coworker? That seems like an HR violation,
yeah,
right?
HR would be all over you
That's
for that.
what Harvey does.
Right. Wow. Nice shot. So one of the people who was alarmed by those videos is Glen Powell's now ex-girlfriend, Gigi Paris. It's been a while, and you would think maybe this is just completely in her rearview mirror. Not exactly. She wanted to get some stuff off her chest about how she felt when all those videos and photos of them were coming out, and she spoke about it on the Too Much podcast.
I said, hey, the whole world is watching what you're saying. Like, please just, like, proceed with caution. Please. And that wasn't received well. And from there was a steady decline. And that was probably 6 months before everything. What sucked was how it was handled. I felt like I was just fed to the dogs. Like, good luck. Like,
so
where
true.
are you when you just need to stand up and say, no, I would never cheat on my girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't do that. That's all that needed to be said.
And that wasn't said.
Never once. To me, it was just like, whoa, that's pretty crazy. Just to, like, sell a movie. Or not, who knows? Like, and I honestly hoped that they'd end up together because I was like, at least it would make it worth it.
She went on to say that because of all of that, she ended up walking away. At a point, she had to be like, okay, he's choosing his work over me and our relationship. She said that she felt like he was just making her out to be, like, not good in the public eye. And she felt like he never stood up for her. And she realized this was not for her.
He made her look like
and
a
left.
fool. Right? He made her look like a fool.
Yeah, and they were together for 3 years. She wasn't a fling. She says that they talked about marriage, that he claimed that he wanted to be with her forever, but then, you know, would allow this kind of publicity to happen where she looks horrible. By the way, she is single. A lot of people online are throwing their shot at her, you know, interested. So her talking about it kind of worked out for her.
I mean,
just making a note.
These are some very attractive people. Although it was interesting, even in the video we just showed, Glen and Sydney, when they were standing next to each other, did seem to just have more chemistry.
I will just say this. They had great chemistry off camera. But what Gigi should really be upset about is that he chose work over their relationship, and the final product just wasn't that good. Sorry, I'm just going to say it. That movie was not good.
Hi, this is Amani. I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. I definitely think this situation is kind of messy. Whether it was a PR stunt or not, I know I'd be hurt if my significant other was letting those rumors conspire. If there was a time where Gigi felt like he crossed a boundary when there was no cameras, then I definitely respect her for having enough self-worth to get up and walk away from the relationship. And she's a gorgeous girl, so she'll be perfectly fine.
I have a feeling Gigi's going to be just fine. Oh, wait. I'm being told by someone with horrible taste that movie was actually good. All right.
Delightful.
We are going to take a break. When we come back, the war between Simone Biles and Riley Gaines exploded over the weekend when Simone went after Riley really hard. Why she is now backpedaling a bit.
Is there a truce?
It seems like there's going to be a truce following in the Elon and Trump footsteps. It is not often that we hear celebrities apologizing after they get into a public beef with another celebrity, but Simone Biles is actually doing that and backpedaling on some really heated things that she had to say about Riley Gaines. When they got into this whole debate about Riley said something about a high school softball team that won a championship in Minnesota. And she said basically that's what happens when one of your stars is a boy, referring to a trans athlete on that team. And Simone jumped in and really went after Riley in a very personal way. She's now softening and explaining her statement, but she really is apologizing to Riley for getting personal. And she's tried to explain the message she was trying to convey. She said, the current system doesn't adequately balance competitive equity and inclusivity, which often leads to a frustration, and it didn't help for me to get personal with Riley, which I apologize for. She added, I was not advocating for policies that compromise fairness in women's sports. My objection is to be singling out children for public scrutiny in ways that feel personal and harmful, referring to Riley's comments about the...
Basically, we can have a bigger concept argument, but to put out a specific photo of a specific child is not the way to do that.
Right. And Riley, for her part, seems to be open to a dialogue with Simone.
Yeah, look, it was interesting. So Riley Gaines, she clearly accepted the apology. She felt like she had been body shamed by Simone Biles, who had kind of likened her physique to the physique of a man's physique. But she clearly does not see eye to eye with Simone Biles when it comes to the actual issue here. She does seem open to having a conversation with Simone Biles, but I think fundamentally here, they are still very much opposed when it comes down to the issue of trans women in women's sports.
I'm Megan. I'm in New York City. I like that Simone acknowledged that this is a very nuanced and complicated situation in the sports world, but that we should all be focusing on having respectful dialogue when talking about it. She stood up for this athlete and she didn't have to, which I think speaks to her character. These kids have no control over the sports system that they're participating in.
Yeah, I think that's basically Simone's point, is like, don't go after these kids who are just out there doing their thing. All right, gonna take a break. When we come back, a South Korean military ceremony that has captured the world's attention. Not so much for the military part of it, but because, well, it could mean new BTS music. How often do you see a soldier with a saxophone? The long international nightmare is almost over.
Almost.
For the BTS Army, because all of their members are starting to come out of military service. You remember that a couple of years ago, the band basically had to go on hiatus because they have to do military service in South Korea.
For about 18 months. And so they're kind of trickling out of it. 2 more members now out of their service.
RM and V, check out their departure from the military. This is unique.
Wow.
They now have 4 members out, 3 more coming out next few weeks.
The last one, though, later this month. Finally.
Could there be new BTS music?
BTS back together. Seems like there's a financial incentive to make that happen.
I agree, indeed. That's going to do it for us. We'll see you tomorrow.